Welcome back to Real Shame. This week we're going to talk about some movies that I haven't seen. Yeah, it's a show where we talk about movies we haven't seen. As I said, movies from our list of shame or our movie blind spots. My name is Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And we're doing two animated movies this week. I'm so deficient in my animated movies, but we've remedied that by watching two on my list. But before
remedied by two,
remedied by two. We subtracted them off. But before we get into our Monday movie, we always like to talk about what we have been watching lately. So, Adam, I'm going to throw it over to you. What have you been watching lately?
So I've watched two series and one movie this week. So I watched the new remake of The Stand on. I think it premiered on CBS All Access. I don't think it ever made it to network television or made it to cable. I think it was just for their application.
Okay.
And this is a 9-part miniseries that has Alexander Skarsgård and it has Masters, the guy who played Cyclops in the X-Men movies. James Masters?
James Marsden.
James Marsden, yep, sorry. As some of the characters in that movie, in that show. And I don't remember the early 90s Stand, and I haven't read the Stephen King book, but I thought it was okay of a series. It held our interest in it long enough that we watched 9 hours of it. I will say the last episode that apparently Stephen King wrote is horrible, and I would recommend anyone who watches it to just skip it.
Last episode?
Yeah.
How can you skip the last episode, though? Is it the finale?
It's not the finale. It's just kind of like a coda.
Oh, okay.
That Stephen King wrote, apparently, and it's not good. I think the movie would be the series would be more enjoyable if that wasn't on there, for sure.
I don't think I did read the book, but I don't remember a lot about it because it's been so long ago. And I don't think I ever watched all of the original miniseries. Yeah. I think I watched part of it, but I don't think I ever finished it. And I haven't seen this new one at all.
So
but watch it and don't watch the last episode.
I would highly recommend that. The other thing is, since we were kind of in the Dark Tower universe, because in Stephen King's novels, the Dark Tower kind of connects everything. All of his novels, characters kind of come in and out inside of novels and all that kind of stuff. I decided we'd watch The Dark Tower, the movie. It's not a great movie, and I knew that going into it, but I just kind of wanted that because Alexander Skarsgård's character is the same character that's in that Matthew McConaughey plays. The Man in Black is the same character, even though he goes by different names, and he does that through all the different novels and stuff like that. So I just kind of wanted to. I like that whole universe and that whole building of it. I like the idea of it, so I just kind of wanted something of that. And The Dark Tower is as bad as I remember, not great. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's not good. They could have done so much better with it, but I think, that's a whole different conversation about that. I can go for hours about what I would do to make that movie different. So that was the Stand, the new series, and The Dark Tower. And the last series I watched is one on HBO Max, and it's called The Bridge. Have you heard about this?
I think every time I log on to HBO Max, I see a thing for it, but that's about it.
It's a reality competition show in the vein of, I would say, like Survivor or that race one.
Amazing Race.
Amazing Race. Some race movie. Some racing movie, TV show. Kirby likes this genre of show more than I like this genre of show.
I know she loves her Survivor.
She loves her Survivor. So it was okay. It was short, which made it more bearable. But basically, the premise is that they grab a bunch of people from the United Kingdom and they put them on a island, and they have to build a bridge a certain number of feet within a certain number of days. And they give them kind of clues on what to do. Like there's books scattered around where you can kind of read and learn how to build the bridge, and there's material kind of placed around of pre-cut trees and rope and all sorts of things to build a bridge. So they got to work together, figure out how to design it and build the bridge within that certain amount of time. I think it's standard fare for that kind of stuff, but again, I'm not into those kind of shows, so your mileage may vary with that kind of stuff. So that's a whole lot of what I've been watching. What have you been watching, my friend?
Alrighty, some eclectic stuff this last week or however long it's been. Clint Eastwood has been acting in movies for quite a while and television shows, but he's been directing movies for quite a while as well, almost 50 years. His first directorial film he starred in, it was called Play Misty for Me. I didn't watch that, although I have seen it. I watched his second directorial film, and he's not in this movie, although he is like a cameo. Like when the main characters walk across like a bridge or something, and he's leaning against it. And you can't even really see his face. He's kind of doing like this. But it's called Breezy. Breezy. And it's basically just like a romance movie. It's kind of
Weird for him.
I guess, but then again, he did like Bridges of Madison County, but he's in Bridges of Madison County, so maybe that's why I did it. But yeah, it's kind of an odd, like Play Misty for me is like a thriller. It's about a psychotic lady who, he's a radio DJ in it, and she's kind of psycho and coming after him. She wants him to play Misty for her.
Like a Misery kind of thing?
Kind of. She's like a fan of his
which I've never seen
radio show or something like that. But yeah, this movie's got William Holden, and of course I can't remember the female lead. I wish I would have written her name down. But anyway, I thought it was good. I mean, it's early. I think it came out in '72, so it's kind of early '70s. The title is Breezy, and it's just a breezy kind of movie. It's a May-December romance. William Holden is much older than Breezy is in the movie, but she kind of, they kind of fall into each other's lives and have a little fling and turns into something more. But I thought it was a nice little quiet kind of romantic drama kind of film. It was interesting, interesting Clint Eastwood movie. Then I watched a horror movie directed by, I believe, Larry Cohen, who did The Stuff.
Okay.
It called The Ambulance with Eric Roberts, Julia Roberts' more famous brother. No, not less famous brother, but Eric Roberts is still pretty famous.
I think he's probably been in more movies than Julia Roberts.
He definitely is, because he takes anything that comes along, right? He's not. It's like, no, I like Eric Roberts. This movie, unfortunately, is not that great. The best thing about it, so basically an ambulance is going around and picking people up that are getting hurt, and it's taking them to this strange hospital in New York.
That sounds cool.
And they're doing weird experience. It does sound cool. Unfortunately, the movie is pretty ho-hum. The coolest thing about the movie is Eric Roberts is a comic book artist in the movie, and his boss is Stan Lee, and Stan Lee is in the movie.
Oh.
Yeah. It came out in 1990. I don't know how old Stan Lee was at that time. Probably early 70s. I don't know. I think he was born in the 20s, so maybe 70 or close to. I don't know. Anyway, but Stan Lee's in it, so that's cool. And James Earl Jones is in it. And James Earl Jones hams it up the entire movie, or at least the part of the movie that he's in. He's constantly like chewing gum. He's just really funny in the movie. He's the best thing about it. I wish the movie was a little bit more happened.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's maybe worth a watch. And then continuing the Larry Cohen thing. So there's an actress named Anne Carlisle who is in quite possibly the weirdest movie of the 1980s. It's a movie called Liquid Sky. It came out in 1982. I did not watch Liquid Sky, but I mentioned Liquid Sky just because it's a movie that I remember I saw Liquid Sky on VHS back in like the late 90s, and I bet I'm probably the only person that ever rented that from the video store. Like, I don't think because you took a look at the box art and read it, and you were like, yeah, this is so strange.
The VHS was like pristine. Yeah. It was rewound.
Yeah, it was rewound, right. But Liquid Sky, Vinegar Syndrome actually put that out a year or two ago, and I was so excited that it was coming out.
Vinegar Syndrome.
Because it's so bizarre. But I watched a movie that Anne Carlisle did after Liquid Sky called Perfect Strangers, not the show with Balky. Different Perfect Strangers. But once again, Larry Cohen, I think he made just about everything. I think The Stuff is no exception. In New York City, I think pretty much is everything. So he has a real eye for New York and the grittiness and the urbanness of New York. And you get that in both The Ambulance and in Perfect Strangers. But man, Perfect Strangers was a slog to get through. It's so amateurish kind of and choppy. It was one of his earlier films, but it's just, and the dialogue, the acting is pretty poor across the board. The best thing about it is the shots of New York City. And that's probably the best thing about The Ambulance in addition to James Earl Jones.
Well, I mean, if you remember my review on The Stuff, I also felt it was like a slog to get through, and there was a lot of lulls and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
Not-
unfortunate.
Not lulls like it's the internet humor, but lulls is
Yeah, it puts you to sleep.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I have been watching. Some Larry Cohen stuff and Clint Eastwood's second directorial debut.
All right.
Not debut, second directorial outing, I guess.
So should we get into our main?
Let's do it. So
let's get into our main review. Go.
no, I was going to say it's a movie that I have never seen.
Yes, it is.
I think we've mentioned it like 50 times now.
2010's Tangled. The classic Disney musical is updated for the 21st century. Rapunzel wonders, when will her life begin? Every year, she sees the floating lights and she yearns to see them up close. It's through a chance encounter with Flynn Rider that Rapunzel is able to muster up the courage to leave the tower and to see them. Disney asks, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your golden hair in Tangled.
I want to see the floating lights.
What?
Oh, well, I was hoping you would take me to see the floating lights.
Oh, you mean the stars.
That's the thing. I've charted stars, and they're always constant. But these, they appear every year on my birthday, Mother. Only on my birthday. And I can't help but feel like they're meant for me. I need to see them, Mother, and not just from my window, in person. I have to know what they are.
Tangled. Rapunzel is one of the Grimm brothers fairy tales. Disney has used a lot of Hans Christian Andersen and Grimm brothers fairy tales to bring their animated features to life. The Brothers Grimm were German academics and philosophers, and they basically gathered together all these kind of stories, these word-of-mouth stories from Germany and from European traditions, and kind of collected them together in the books, and that's where we get the Grimm fairy tales from. We have stuff like Cinderella, The Frog Prince, Goose Girl, which I've never heard of, Hansel and Gretel, Rapunzel, Little Red Riding Hood, Wolf and the Seven Young Goats, Rumpelstiltskin, Sleeping Beauty, and Snow White. These are all various Grimm brothers that they collected in the book. I feel like this is a continuation of not only the Disney animation tradition, but also what we call now the Disney Renaissance. So in the late 80s, Disney animated features were kind of floundering, or they weren't doing so well. So actually they brought on Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, to help revitalize the Disney animated features. And the first movie of this kind of Disney Renaissance is The Little Mermaid. And what Howard Ashman did that was so revolutionary and what helped reinvigorate it was he brought the traditions of Broadway musicals to Disney movies. So he saw The Little Mermaid, he saw Beauty and the Beast, he saw these as vessels for kind of showing and doing a traditional kind of Broadway musical, and that's what helped kind of revitalize it. I think now, unfortunately, Howard Ashman died during the production of Aladdin, so he only worked partly on Aladdin, and he worked on Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid, and before that, him and Alan Menken did Little Shop of Horrors. So I do think now Howard Ashman is kind of getting some of the praise he deserves for that, because I do think he brought a lot to it, and you can see videos on YouTube of him talking about Broadway musical traditions and how to incorporate it into these movies, and that's why they became so revitalized, in my opinion. But I kind of wanted to give that background before we get into the movie. Tangled is a movie that you haven't seen, so what did you know about Tangled before you watched it, and what did you think about Tangled while you watched it?
I knew it was about Rapunzel. I honestly I don't think I really consciously knew who did any of the voice acting. And so this came out in 2010, and I know these other movies I'm going to mention aren't necessarily Disney, but like Brave came out, not too long after this, is that right?
Yeah, I want to say Brave came out in 2016.
Oh, I thought it was even sooner than that. Well, like
Maybe
Tangled, Brave, Frozen, all that stuff. So all that stuff came out, and it all just missed me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I recognize that those were different movies, but they might as well have been the same to me. I was just like, oh, it's probably a kids movie that I'm not going to get that much out of. So I just never really had much of a desire to watch it.
But so before I want to ask you one more question: were you into those Disney Renaissance movies like The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast? Because that hit like prime childhood for me, and I love those movies. I still adore those movies. So I think that's the reason why I kind of like Tangled, and I was aware of it was because of that. So do you have that same kind of feeling towards those, basically from 89 to 99 Disney movies?
No.
Okay.
But it's not that I dislike those movies, but because I am older than you, and I was older. Yeah, obviously, I was still older than you when those movies came out.
What? That's not how time works?
I know, that is how time works. I think I was a little bit too old. I mean, I enjoyed those movies, and I saw them. I think I saw Little Mermaid and Aladdin. I know in the theater. I think I saw Beauty and the Beast. Later on home video or something like that. But those other two, I'm pretty sure I saw in the movies, and I enjoyed them for what they were. But at that point, I wasn't really a child. Yeah. I was more interested in girls or whatever. So, while I enjoyed the movies, they're not something that I revisit a lot. I have seen them multiple times just because I've got, nieces and nephews or whatever that watch them or did watch them. But it's not something that I've revisited a lot. And I do think the songs I think they're great movies. Yeah. But it's just not something I don't probably have as fond memories of them as you do. So yeah, but Tangled, I thought was terrific. Yeah. I really, really liked Tangled. I think Mandy Moore is fantastic as Rapunzel. I think her voice acting, I think her singing is really good. Zachary Levi as Flynn Rider. I had no clue who Donna Murphy is. I know she plays Mother Gothel.
Yeah, I think she's a Broadway actress that they brought in.
Probably why I don't
do that a little bit.
Know her. Obviously I'm familiar with the story of Rapunzel. I don't remember the specifics. After I watched Tangled, I went back to see how they kind of differ. Yeah. Well, obviously a little darker than the Disney movie. But no, I had a really, really good time watching this movie. I think the songs, they're not quite the song, as good as Little Mermaid or Aladdin kind of songs or whatever, but they're still good. And I thought, overall, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I was surprised. Well, not surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised, I guess, by how good of a time I had. I thought it was very fast paced. Yep. She kind of enlists his help when he climbs up the tower. First, she knocks him out. I laughed a lot. I thought it was funny. I like her little chameleon kind of Pascal. Sidekick, Pascal. The movie got going. They are trying to make their way to see the Festival of the Lights or whatever you want to call it. A lot of stuff happens to them along the way. The horse Maximus is funny. Yeah, he's the guys that they meet in like the pub are all funny and have their little unique kind of traits. The mime guy and the little Cupid looking old fella and all that stuff. I thought it was filled with wonderful characters, pretty good songs, and very good kind of voice talent behind all of it. I really, really enjoyed this movie.
I'm glad you did. I agree with you. I'm 100% on board with this. I think this is a very action-y kind of movie. It feels very like Pirates of the Caribbean with me a little bit. The pace keeps on going, and it plays more like an action movie than I feel like anything else. I do know that for this movie, they kind of tried to eschew tradition a little bit. Obviously, because it's not hand animated like some of the Disney princess movies were before, but also they kind of got rid of the storybook that they usually have for like Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella, and even Enchanted that opens up on a storybook, before the movie kind of sets off and goes forward. They got rid of that. I was going to ask you, do you? This is not the first Disney computer animated feature. It's the first Disney princess computer animated feature. But do you know what the first computer animated feature for Disney was? It came out in 2005.
Nope.
Chicken Little.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that movie. I would never have guessed that.
I looked it up. Okay. This is the 50th Disney animated feature. Oh, wow. Just to kind of throw that out there.
That's cool.
And like I said, the first Disney feature in CGI. The first Disney animated feature was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Do you know what year that came out in? 1937. I wrote it down.
Good God.
So yeah, I think this is a great kind of like introduction into this modern kind of Disney princess movies, quote unquote, because it is so actiony and it feels like such a two-hander. In fact, they called it Tangled because they wanted to test well with boys in addition to girls, because they figured Rapunzel only girls would want to see it.
Yeah, I get
and stuff like that. But I'm with you. I think Mandy Moore does great. in it. I like her singing. I like the songs. I like Mother Knows Best. I like the beginning song, When Will My Life Begin? Her I Want song, for those people that are keeping notes at home about Disney musicals and stuff like that. I like that a lot. I find Zachary Levi, he's fun and he's charming. He does get a tad bit annoying, but not too annoying. But, you know, I think that's what's required of him, and he does great in the role. The horse is hilarious. Maximus is great.
Yeah.
He's probably the star of the show. But
yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was just gonna say, I mean, honestly, I had very few. Any complaints I had are so minor, I don't even really remember them. I mean, I really just thoroughly enjoyed the movie through and through.
The couple of things that I think that's all I really have on my notes. The one thing I kind of have written down that I've noticed this time around was the interaction between Mother Gothel and Rapunzel. Mm-hmm. She's always kissing and touching Rapunzel's hair, which is, you know, where the flower kind of came in, and then she refers to her as her flower, which you know, some astute IMDb trivia people have also noted. So it's kind of interesting, like how she sees her as an object rather than a human and stuff like that. So those are some of those kind of interactions I keyed onto this viewing and stuff like that, and I kind of like it. The thing I like a lot about animated movies is they take 4 to 6 years to make, and they can just make them so densely packed with all these kind of different things that upon repeat viewings you kind of, you know, peel back the layers and you see a little bit more of the movie, or you catch glimpses of other things going on and stuff like that. And that's one of the things I really like about animated features. The last bit of trivia I have is, in 2003, this film was announced as Rapunzel Unbraided, and it was going to be a computer animated feature in the vein of Shrek, where it was going to be more of a parody and like a fairy tale kind of world and all that kind of stuff, which I am glad they did not go forward with, because I think this movie is far better than Shrek. Don't at me.
It's been a long time since I've seen Shrek. I don't know, but I mean, I really enjoyed this, so I may be right there with you. Yeah. I really thought this was good.
So I'm glad that you saw Tangled. We both have favorable opinions on it. What are the reviewers following this?
89% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 87% audience score. Ebert was still alive at the time this movie came out, but I didn't see a review of his. Maybe I just didn't look hard enough. But Leonard Maltin really dug it. He gave it 3.5 stars.
Good job, Leonard.
And I noticed that on Disney Plus, which is where I watched it, you probably did too, it has a sequel.
It does.
And it has a TV series.
The sequel is a short. It's not like a full feature sequel.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe a little less than an hour or something like that. And then it's got a TV series. I don't know that I'm going to watch all that stuff, but I may watch the Rapunzel Ever After or whatever the little DTV sequel or whatever you want to call it is.
I have not seen that, so you have to let me know how that is.
If I got nothing else to do, I might watch it. But yeah.
Well, that is our review on Rapunzel. If you feel the same way we do, let us know. Leave a comment below if you're watching us YouTube, or you can shoot us an email, realshame@gmail.com. On our Wednesday episodes, we answer viewers' questions, so be sure to type those in either through comments or email so we can answer those on air. Follow us on social media. We're at Real Shame on Instagram. Like, share the show if you enjoy it, because that really does help spread the word of the show, and we really do appreciate that. And stay tuned Wednesday. Oh, I didn't even talk about what I was going to...
Oh, yeah. And I always forget to prompt you.
Stay tuned Wednesday as we talk about this movie that we're going to talk about now. And I paired this with a movie that I feel like is kind of underrated, or not a lot of people talk about, and that's Anastasia from 1997. It's another like lost princess kind of movie, so I figured it kind of fits in with the theme, and it's, you know, more traditionally animated, but it kind of fits into this whole kind of universe, even though it's not a Disney film. Although Disney did acquire Fox, so you can watch Anastasia on Disney Plus. And so that's why I'm going to pair it with. So stay tuned Wednesday as we talk about Anastasia, and we'll see you soon, guys. Thank you.